Hey guys, today I'm with William Jones, 1990 Naval Academy graduate with a long history of sales and marketing. And I started working with William exactly 3 months ago. And it's been quite a journey, William. So let's talk about it. What has this journey been like for you on the personal branding and networking side?
This journey has been amazing, Tom. When we got started, one of the things that I told you was that I spent 2020 pretty much DIW. For Navy guys out there, they understand what that means, dead in the water. I tried a lot of things on my own, tried a lot of different pursuits, and I got to a point where I just didn't know what was working well and what wasn't. I needed a benchmark. I needed some validation. But most of all, I needed some velocity. I needed to be in front of a lot of people to know whether or not those things were working. And I certainly wasn't seeing that.
So you had the gift of gab, you know how to connect with people. Working with you, I think that's always been something that I thought you didn't have a problem with. What was sort of the missing piece or pieces that CareerNerds gave you when you started engaging with us?
One word: confidence. You can lose confidence when you're in a situation where you don't know what you're doing is working or not. But what I found is that the more I talk to people, the more I engage with people, the more confidence I got to tell my story. To date, I've conducted more than 100 calls. I can remember a time you telling me about another CareerNerds client who had done 100 plus calls, and I thought that was just unbelievable. But in the last 3 months, I've conducted that number of calls, and in talking to those people, I've enjoyed each one of the calls. I've learned something new. I've gotten a lot of new contacts. I've even gotten some evangelists out of it, but it created that comfort level with me that helped me to build my confidence about telling my best story.
You talk about the 100 calls. It's funny. Sometimes I ask clients, how many calls do you think it takes to get to an amazing job? And sometimes they say 1,000,000, sometimes they say 1,000. Really, the solution that I say is like the magic number is 50 to 100 calls. Why do you think it takes 50 to 100 calls to get a great job offer?
Well, it's a question I have for you. I know you were the number one math guy in Dallas at one time, or in Texas, I should say. I really, really would like to get the scientific understanding behind that. But it's true. I think that it takes that number of calls because, one, it's a numbers game. You have to talk to a lot of different people before opportunity arises. Two, I think that it requires practice. I refine my process. I refine the way I engage with people within the 20-minute networking structure, call structure. But I refined that process over time to fit the way the call was going. I developed for myself audibles that I could call if the call was going a certain way. And I developed things that I could say if the call was not going according to the script. All in all, the calls worked out just like conversations. And I think that they went very well, and I got a lot out of them. But going back to the original question, it takes that number of calls because you need practice. You need to refine the process. You need to be in front of a lot of people, the maximum number of people to tell your story before you arrive at a great opportunity. I arrived at my great opportunities around call 88, 87. And that's where the job opportunities popped out.
So let me ask you, if we look at it before and after, first let's talk about networking and then maybe your LinkedIn profile. Before, how are you conducting networking and what was the biggest change after?
That's a great question, Tom, because I was just looking back at some of the messages I sent to Service Academy graduates in 2019. And what amazed me was that I sent out a lot of connection requests. I got a lot of connection requests, but I didn't do anything with them. I didn't do any follow-up. I didn't ask for a chat. I guess what I was doing was just hoping that at some point I would find a connection point with them and that we would end up having a phone call that would be meaningful and relevant. But that didn't happen. With the 20-minute networking call structure and framework, it allowed me to actually get something out of those connection requests, to actually have a phone call, have a conversation, and get information and contacts and potential opportunities. So that's one of the things that I looked at in terms of you can connect with a lot of people, but it's important that you do something with them.
Right. And what did you end up doing with them?
What I end up doing with them is those three things, the three things that I've named, which is getting information. I performed informational interviews. They told me about industries and potential opportunities and things that might be interesting to me. They told me about new contacts, other people that I could reach out to for information. I came away from several of the calls with evangelists. I knew that I had evangelists because in some instances, I had people send me thank you notes for the calls that I conducted with them because they felt they got value out of the call. They felt energized by the call because it was much more of a conversation rather than someone calling and asking them for something.
That was nice because when you told me that story that you were getting thank you calls after your networking call, it made me realize you're adding value during the call by giving them the time and attention and interest and curiosity and made them feel valued, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the LinkedIn profile and your personal branding before and after. What were the chief differences?
How much time do you have? My LinkedIn profile before working with you was all over the place. I thought that I was doing things right, but I didn't have a clue in actuality. I'd say the number one thing you helped me do was get my LinkedIn profile organized. You move things out of the way that had no bearing on whether or not I was pursuing the job opportunity I wanted and added in things that I needed to get that dream job. So organization of the LinkedIn profile is critically important. People don't want to read something that has a bunch of stuff on it that's meaningless to them. Secondly, you helped me to create a profile that appealed to right and left brain. It's now filled with great graphics, really good numbers, but also compelling information. In other words, I'm not just telling someone I'm great, I'm proving it to them by sharing all of those statistics and things that I've performed in my career and successes that I've had in terms of numbers and actual measurements. I think the third thing that the LinkedIn surgery that you provided me on my profile is that you helped me to tell my story. Now, when someone asks me for my resume, I refer them to my LinkedIn profile and I can tell them, listen, if you want to send my information to someone to start a conversation, all of my background is there, including my contact information, which makes it easy for someone to connect you to someone else. So that's one of the big things that has really been helpful. It really makes it easy for people to pass you to other contacts without going through sending a resume. It gives you the opportunity to tailor your resume for the specific opportunity rather than sending out one that's general, because all of your information is on your LinkedIn profile in an easy to read format. And then lastly, I'll say right down to the banner, the customized banner that I have, which is very attractive, designed by me. I spent a lot of time really micromanaging it.
William, let me show that actually as we're talking about it. So I'm going to share the screen for all the viewers to see. So here is William's optimized profile. And as you can see, he's got a great banner, great new photo with the suit and tie. Also the headline, well thought out job descriptions. So what do you think the LinkedIn profile, it's obviously your online presence. What was the top one or two things that it gave you?
I think it gave me credibility and it gave me immediate sizzle. In other words, before, I would see people visit my profile and maybe not connect. Now I'm very proud. I'm very pleased to have someone view my profile. In fact, I want to encourage people to come to my profile. That's how good I feel about the profile that I have in place. I now feel that I have something to show them, whereas before I wasn't sure if I did or not. And I wasn't telling my complete story on my LinkedIn profile. But now I think it's a showcase. It's a great sales flyer that gives people a quick understanding of my background and experience.
I agree with all the things you said. I think LinkedIn is a vastly underutilized resource in terms of like how people represent themselves and how it's used as a communications tool. When you started working with CareerNerds, it was exactly 3 months to the day, right?
Yes.
That you got the amazing job offer. And if you were to give people advice on how they could replicate what you did in getting 3 months or less getting a job, what would be the key things you would tell them?
Well, first, let me say that regarding that 3 months, I set out those 3 months. I said for myself that I would start working with you on March 1st, and I declared a goal for myself of 3 months to a job offer. And it worked out that way. I put in the work of networking and, as you say, to the day. So it's important to provide that context because I set a couple of goals there. One, the first goal was to work with you. I decided this is the direction I'm going in. I gained clarity and said, I want to pursue my dream job in corporate America. That's what I did. Then secondly, I applied a time constraint on it, right? It wasn't a goal is not a goal unless you say when you're going to accomplish it. And so it's important to include that context of that 3 months to the day. It was quintessential. It was prototypical. But, to answer your question, I would say that the key to someone replicating what I did is to dive into the process, right? Commit to it. You always say, do the work of networking. That was critically important in this process. At one point, at the height of my networking, I was doing 20 plus calls per week. And it was a lot of work, but it didn't feel like it because I was getting a lot of enjoyment out of the networking. I enjoyed talking to all the people. I really enjoyed learning about other service academies through the Service Academy graduates when previously my only world had been the U.S. Naval Academy and its alumni. So it's important that they commit to the process, that they do the work of networking, and that they enjoy it, I think is really what it's about. Doing all those networking calls helps you to tell your best story. It gives you the confidence. It gives you good practice when it comes time to interview because you're used to talking to strangers. You're used to talking to people. You start to ignore titles and you just look at the person as this is just another networking call, not a critical interview that's going to be a make or break decision. And so you get some comfort and ease around that. Other things that I've advised people on is to, make sure they do their preparation, right? Take a look and look for commonalities with the person. Find things to talk about. People want you to make it about them. They enjoy talking about themselves. And when you do that, then they want to learn about you. And finally, I would say the biggest benefit that I've seen in the networking, or I should say, not revelation, but validation of what I found in the book around the 20-minute networking framework. The last question in that framework has been so powerful. When I ask the question, in the way I do it is I say, hey, I'm going to let you out on this one. How can I help you? It really stuns people. I've seen people sit back in their chair. I've seen people thank me for that. I've seen people say, wow. Some people will brush it back and say, well, nothing right now, but I'll keep that in mind. But the bottom line is they really appreciate the fact that you asked them how you could help them rather than just coming in the call and finding out how they can help you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, asking people how you can help them, human beings work on reciprocity. You help me, I help you. And when you're offering that help, then they really appreciate that. You said a really interesting thing that the practice in the networking helped you in interviewing. You effectively had 80 mini interviews before you had that final one, the job offer. How does that really go into, how does networking help you interview better?
Well, networking helps you interview better because you don't know what you're going to get out of a call. You don't, and it's important not to prejudge the call by the look of the person's profile or what the person does. It's important to prepare for that call in the same way that you do all the time. Find the commonality with the person, learn about their experience, make sure you list down what you want to ask and what you want to talk about. That's very important. Ask the questions you want to ask, but then go in that call with an open mind and prepare to answer questions based on, your best view of them or your best perspective, and really find out about the person, take in some curiosity. So in doing that, what you do with that number of calls is you prepare yourself for any situation. Well, guess what? In an interview, you can get any question at any time, but it's that level of preparation, curiosity, and interest in the other person that will help carry the day for you when you actually perform an interview. I found my interviews to be very easy. And I used to really get nervous about interviewing, as you know, when we first started. Just the thought of saying interview or someone asking me a question really kind of shook me, made me a little bit nervous. But I got past that because I realized it's just a conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is. So if someone's considering coaching, Career Nerds coaching to help them make a move up in their career or make a move to a different company, what would you say the biggest results were that it gave you?
Boy, I wish I could show them 2020 versus 2021 William. And I think and I think that's all they would need to know. But I would say I got great value out of working with you. And I understand where other people may be coming from. Before working with you or before engaging with you, I often ask the question, what does a career coach do? How can they help me? Oh, by the way, I'm a Service Academy graduate, so I feel like I can do everything, figure everything out, and eventually I'll muscle my way through. I'm glad we had the conversation we had in late February because it showed me through not only your offerings, but your guarantee of working with someone until they land a job that you're committed to helping them and you have a proven process. I am a believer. I am an evangelist. I am an alkalite because you show me so many valuable tools along the way that remove barriers in the way that I was doing things, right? I think the best thing about it is you didn't do it for me. You removed those barriers, but I did all the work. You removed the barriers to me telling my best story, but I created that story. You helped me to gain confidence. And so I used that confidence when telling that story, when talking with people. You commented on everything that I was doing. You didn't miss a detail, whether it was my hair or my picture or my banner or the equipment I was using for calls. You changed the game on that front. And now I understand the importance of how you come across, of how you present, of how you interview, or how you connect with people. All those things are valuable when it comes to creating that relationship or selling yourself into the dream job that you want.
Yeah, those are all good things. You mentioned a lot of things that I take for granted. I mean, I've done probably 3,000, 4,000 calls, and it took me a few hundred calls to understand how to optimize things, which now I share with you, right?
Yes.
So that was part of it. Well, cool. Well, hey, William, moving forward, let me ask you, this experience of 3 months working with Career Nerds, what's it going to help you in your next job and into maybe looking for other jobs in the future? What are the biggest takeaways that you're going to help in your next job?
Oh, yeah. Biggest takeaways will be, listen, I'm going to need a lot of the same skills that I used in networking and how to present myself and how to tell my story. I'm going to need that in my roles, given that I'm in business development and sales. So I'm upping my game in that area with the things that I've learned working with Career Nerds. Secondly, I will never again be caught DIW because I now know that networking is a full-time gig in itself. It's something that you need to keep doing regardless of what your situation is. And it's good to do. It's good to be connected and know what's out there and out there helping other people so that you stay ready and you don't have to get ready. Jobs change, companies change, situations change. It's important to have your networking engine ready and available for when you need it. Shame on you if you try to spin it up at a time that you absolutely need it, but you haven't been doing it the entire time. Then I would say that it's important to think about the little things, right? The little things that contribute to pursuing big opportunities. And I learned a lot of those little things along the way. I never would have thought about using a microphone rather than a cheesy headset. I never would have thought about lighting. I never would have thought about my great virtual background that you see behind me in the Naval Academy crest. I never would have thought about the difference it made just in the way I wear my hair. You even commented on that. It made an amazing difference. Who knew I could grow hair? I've been waiting ever since. And so I just think that there are a lot of big things that occurred along the way in terms of the networking and confidence and interviewing and knowing what's right and not what's right and how you present yourself. But I think there's a lot of little things that people don't think about that have helped provide tremendous value throughout this process. I tell new guys all the time, or people that are considering your services, I say, listen, when you go to consider Career Nerds, particularly if you're in transition like I was, the fees will seem counterintuitive, but I've gotten tremendous value from it. The minute you land that dream role or get 2 or 3 offers, you have paid for it many times over. It is absolutely worthwhile. So I'm here as that testimonial.
Well, William, you definitely showed that the Career Nerds process works. You executed it in really record time. You did all the process, and you're the proof that, networking really is the way to connect with decision makers and get your dream job. So thanks for working with us, and all the best of luck in your future career and endeavors.
Thank you, Tom.